Right. Here we go. Let's record, huh? Well, good evening. It's been a minute since we've done a live on our YouTube channel, but
Has been a minute.
we're here. We're here tonight
We're here. Cheers.
for a nightcap with Carlos and Chantel. Oh, man. So tonight we're just going to recap about our day. That's usually what we do on our nightcap.
Mhm.
And just recap of an awesome weekend. And we haven't been around for a while, but it's good to be here. And today, what was your day like, babe? You have a pretty busy day on Mondays.
Yeah. Well, we started off with um, a workout.
Oh, true.
Our gym is doing a squat challenge this month. So we're tracking our squats, and it's kind of a friendly competition uh, all month long. And so our boot camp workouts incorporate lots of squats. So I think we did 70 today, and 30 of them were jump squats.
Yeah,
You did extra jump squats, but
I did.
man, I tell you what, trying to do some burpees after you've done after you've done 30 jump squats is no
Then we
joke.
did some lunges, which are similar to squats. I mean, we were just burning the
Jump
legs up,
lunges, yeah.
jump lunges, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
And so we're just burning the legs up today. And the squats, yeah. My beautiful bride, she kind of challenged me to put a vest on. I don't know if any of you know that. I've dropped about, starting this journey about a year and a half ago, dropped over 50 pounds now. I'm at 245 around there. And so she's like, put on a vest, challenge yourself. 50 pounds is nothing. But it wasn't 50 pounds that I put on it. A vest, it was 20 pounds. So at first I was like, because at our gym they have vests, and I just grabbed one finally halfway through. And I was getting tired. I'm like, okay, let's go. It's like, come at her, come at me, come at me, bro.
I, I
A little healthy
actually,
challenge.
it was really awesome that you took the challenge. It kind of turns me on when he, like, he really doesn't want to do it, but he does it anyways.
It's real. And coach, it was funny because Chantel asked our coach, and coach was like, well, if you're training, she's letting me off the hook.
Yeah, she was gonna let him off the hook, and I was like, "Listen, he used to carry that much weight. He's lost over that." So, and she
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, right,
It
you're
was
right."
awesome. It was awesome.
So, way to do
Yeah, babe. It was a good workout today.
that.
It was a rainy day too, so
Oh, it's one of those days. It's between the time change and like rain and dreary. It's one of those days where it's like hard to get going, but
yeah.
we push through. And then, of course, I'm back to back all day between mentorships and the women's Zoom.
Building
Um,
the house.
we
that
are in the
that's
middle.
Mondays. I take a couple hours to work on that process, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then same mentorships and
So we are currently
men's.
building a home on our property. It's my sister and her husband.
Yeah, that's right. We're developers.
So
It's
that's
been awesome.
exciting. It's been a lot. There's a lot of comings and goings and activities covering different stuff on our business while Carlos has entered back into the construction world. And
Yeah, I challenged myself, like, because when I used to do commercial construction projects and was at a company and project management for different projects, there was all these deadlines and time frames, right? And we knew building this house, we need to get it done. And in any project you want to do, you want to put deadlines. I'm like, what would it look like if we do it in 12 weeks?
Mhm.
And it looks like we're going to come pretty stinking close to that. And actually, in all technical, when we broke ground, it was 8 weeks. But I gave myself starting January 1st, and we actually didn't get started till February. But hey, who's counting? It's possible. That's the whole point. To turnkey a house for you, those of you in California, heads up if you want a house with some land and homestead and custom home built for you, and you want it in 90 days, 12 weeks, you know where to Look
Reach
us up.
out.
Reach out to us. That's right. We can get her done for you. And it is exciting to. I was licensed and bought and insured for construction in California, and so was my brother-in-law. He's really amazing at what he does. So between the two of us, we make it happen. So it's been fun.
So yeah. So it was a good day, and it's interesting because, just to kind of recap, a lot of clients that I've been working with um have been navigating some. So my topic for the women's call was family triggers, right? Um,
Interesting.
so there's always a theme that rolls through the mentorships, with my life, with their life, all of the things, right? So there's different dynamics, and so what we talked about today was really it was fun to acknowledge and recognize, as we work through triggers, it's one of our fundamental processes, triggers to triumph. We're super passionate about our old stories not controlling us, right? And so when when there's sort of a theme going on, we can acknowledge it. And what I recognized was family triggers are a little bit special. they're there's a little bit extra with the family triggers.
A little
And
more of a
why
dip,
is that? Like,
a little deeper.
well, think about it. So you have the family dynamic from childhood, right? There's the age orders, there's you know the way that the parents parented the different children, there's different life experiences that each child has that creates a different response with the other ones, right? So there's this whole childhood dynamic that happens, and then we all grow up. And if we have unresolved childhood dynamics, we tend to bring it into our adulthood. And what does that look like when we're faced with triggers from our family, right? Do we act like we did as a child in that response? Or do we have the maturity and the capability to create space to recognize that there's a whole lot of years that have happened. There's a lot of growth. There's learning. Maybe some of us acquired some wisdom along the way. Maybe there's some healing that's happened, right? There's so many different nuances that we have that shift into adulthood. And so uh there's a lot of things that happen. So there's a couple of different clients that I'm working with that are dealing with those nuances of the family dynamics, and then you add the in-laws on top of it, right? The sisters-in-laws, the brothers-in-laws, and we currently have my sister and my brother-in-law living with us in our home, and have for the last 2 years. A total other family dynamic. My parents lived with us the prior 2 years. So we know it well, and are working through some of those things ourselves. And so the topic of conversation was, when we have these things, do we have them? Okay, so one of my favorite lines to say is about a trigger, right? A trigger. What is a trigger, babe?
It's an opportunity
for what?
To level up.
Okay.
To grow.
From what?
An opportunity to grow, an opportunity to level up, an opportunity to.
You do the same thing that all of my women did today.
What was your hint? An opportunity for growth. I thought that's what it was. I thought that was the phrase.
Okay, so there's no wrong answer. All of those are real and true. Everybody on my call did the same exact thing. There was like all these other things, but so the phrase that I like to use.
I should know it. You're my wife. Come on, it's Chantel-isms, and I like to repeat them a lot. Give me a hint.
From what? Level up from what? Grow from what? I am giving you a hint.
I know. Grow from what? Opportunity.
Something.
Opportunities for something.
No.
Opportunity. Oh, okay. Tell us. I'm give up. I messed up. I'm gonna write it down now. Opportunity for what?
So the triggers are an opportunity to move through something that is controlling us.
Oh,
Okay.
move through something that's
It's
controlling us.
the control, the story that's controlling us, the feelings that control us, right? The hurts, the hang-ups, the offense, all of those things that are controlling our responses, our management of
So true.
emotions, right?
So good.
So,
A trigger. It's an opportunity to move through a story that is controlling.
so anyways, no, I lost my train of thought. Thanks.
You're welcome. That's profound, though. It is a really good thing about things that control you, even with family dynamics, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
No. So,
Oh, we have our sister and brother-in-law living with us.
yeah,
We started to talk about that a little bit.
yeah.
Okay. The opportunities to move through story that is controlling.
Yeah. So, anyways, again, a number of clients are working through the adult version of triggers from family, and you know, there's a lot of different things that can happen, right? So one of the things is recognizing that as an adult, we can look at our communication and we can identify sometimes when it's beneficial to communicate through the trigger, right? Maybe there is some healing that is required within that relationship. And sometimes it's really just our own stuff. Okay. The circumstances around are valid, the feelings are valid, all of those things. But when we are heavily triggered and we feel controlled,
It's good.
when we feel that control and it's like extensive and we feel like we're hitting a wall with the thing that's triggering us, what do we do? What do we do? So I asked this question because, you know, there's a lot of different responses. Like some people need to get out of town,
Some people
avoid,
react,
right?
coping mechanisms,
Coping
drink,
coping
drugs,
mechanism,
alcohol, like a lot of
anger, right?
How do I deal with this, right?
Yeah, some people go on to, there's so many different ways that we
Social
can.
media now, they get that endorphin, that hit from someone
Mhm.
liking a video that they posted or whatever, or something they did. Yeah. We
Somehow.
gotta somehow, it's really satisfying something, right? So, I mean, if we go into the addiction world of even, some people addicted to porn, right? Then their release of having an orgasm and things like that can be part of it too. Like it's interesting how there's always like this, there's some sort of reward, it seems like, when you're triggered. Like you feel like when you go into that addiction realm, it's like, well, I'm looking for some satisfaction or reward since I didn't get
Or
that
an
here. I was
outlet.
triggered. Yeah, yeah.
Like some kind of outlet,
Yeah.
right?
A release.
A
I mean,
release.
obviously yeah,
Yes, a
really that's
release.
the ultimate, right? You're triggered, so I need a release somewhere.
Some
Because
people
I'm not
use
getting it here. I'm not getting
journaling.
validating.
There's healthy coping
Yeah.
mechanisms. So that was one of our other women's calls last week, was talking about coping mechanisms, right?
And there are beneficial ones.
There are absolutely
Definitely.
beneficial
And necessary, good
ones.
things.
Healthy ones,
Mhm.
routes that we can go that are that beneficial release. Right?
So it's interesting because we kind of touched on this with the men. I want to tie into it.
Okay.
Hopefully I don't throw you off about
Yeah.
telling your story.
Already, but
It is.
it's okay.
Is that these triggers are usually attached to some sort of trauma from our childhood, our formative years, that then create the story, and then I just confirm it with my family and relationships, right? So it's really interesting because they'll confirm what you believe about yourself and that story or the situation. And it's interesting because, especially in family, we've been having a lot of these conversations about her discovery, my discovery of our situations in our family. But a lot of times, our family's definitely going to be a little deeper at confirming the story and the trauma because they went through it too. Chances are they went through it because you guys were raised together. So potentially in those formative years, They had a form of it. So they're going to confirm that story that you have or that I have, my siblings, or those that are close to us that maybe went through similar situations because we were raised together, potentially, are
Maybe.
definitely going to confirm it. Right. I'm just saying the potential's there for why it actually makes it deeper. And especially with your family, you want to believe that they love you and that they want what's best for you. But if they're confirming your negative story or your traumatic story, your trigger, is that beneficial, or are you guys just keeping each other stuck in those triggers potentially? I mean, I don't know. It's just something that kind of came up with the men we were talking about, how important it is to recognize your story and to also know in order to get a new story, you got to find someone who has a different story. You follow me? Again, that's a whole different topic. Let's finish this. I just thought that was fascinating. I'll just back to the family triggers. Dun dun dun.
Well, so when you're dealing with a family trigger, right? Again, I was talking about hitting a wall.
Yeah.
Okay. When I say hitting a wall, that happens when somebody you feel like you've exercised your muscle of communication. You feel like you are doing your best to work things, you know, to stay away from the trigger, so to speak. Not necessarily stay away from the trigger, but move through it with communication. So if you hit a wall, then what do you do? Okay. So the conversation that we had was that you absolutely can press in, because then it's really something inside of you. We can shift, we can no longer we can change the lens that we see through, right? We don't, like, just because we're hitting a wall doesn't mean we have to remain controlled by the trigger.
Wow.
So that was the point that I wanted to make. And here's how I know, because I just went through it. I went through a scenario where I was faced with a wall. I was faced with a wall, and what that wall did was revealed a belief that I had that came from my childhood.
Yeah.
Not the wall, not the trigger, but the belief, the feeling that I had hitting the wall, which is, no amount of communication was good, no amount of communication moved through it,
Yeah.
right? So it's literally just this wall. So that in and of itself revealed to me, as I pressed in, as I released emotionally, right? And we're talking like hours and hours upon hours of bawling and like really trying to identify it, release it, and coming to the point of recognizing that that belief was revealing a place where my identity and my value, because I was hitting this wall, was not there. So I was not holding my space of value while hitting this wall, which brought up the deep-seated root of pain from my childhood, right? So working through that was really painful. Hi.
Hi. Oh,
You're live.
oh, hello.
I'm texting you. I was like, you want to join us?
So
Love you. We'll connect in a minute.
So hitting that wall and revealing the place of that deep-seated pain was really profound, right? So I was able to release it, and I was able to reveal that belief and find where it came from. So what then did that allow me to do? So when I'm having this revelation, guess what? I now can put on a different lens, that I can see this whole scenario, this wall, through a different lens. I'm not seeing it through the lack of value of where the trigger was revealing. I'm seeing it through a lens of clarity, of understanding, of compassion,
Yeah.
right? It allows me then to continue to move forward in my life, to not be stuck or controlled. So, and then it was, even more so, Carlos is like, you feel lighter. You know what I mean? Oh, that's cool. Right? But did the wall change? No, not at all. Nothing changed on this end. It was me. So I say that to encourage you, right? To recognize that each and every one of us has the power to move through something that is controlling us, a belief, a trigger, a pain, a trauma,
Yeah.
whatever it is. We have the power. We just have to press in. We have to be willing to do the hard things. We have to be willing to feel the pain, and we have to be willing to gain the revelation and to know that we're holding it, like we unconsciously are holding it from like our early years,
Yeah.
that childhood. So now you can go on with what you want to tie into.
No, it's good because that story does control us. And then we're going to have people around us that confirm it. So it's important,
And it's
first of all.
unconscious.
That's
I just
right.
want to
That's
clarify
right.
that it's an unconscious confirmation. It's
Yeah.
not like people go around wanting to confirm your trauma story.
Yeah.
That is not the case. People around you love you. It's your story, and you create the confirmation.
The best example and the easiest way to explain this and to make you aware of it is like you buy a Ford truck and then everybody all of a sudden on the road is driving a Ford truck. You're like, look at that Ford truck, look at that Ford truck, look at that Ford truck. And you're like, what in the world? Were these people always driving Ford trucks? Yes. So your story makes you aware of these situations in life. So you're always seeing it and always seeing the confirmation. And especially those closest to you, like, yep, there it is again. There it is again. Unless you change that story, especially if you've been divorced or if you've been through some abuse or trauma and it got created through your divorce. You know what I mean? Like it got confirmed in your divorce and then you're like, see, there it is again. I'm a failure. I'm no good. Like you're confirming something that happened in your childhood. Then all of a sudden, if you don't have a new story or rewrite that story, you're going to create it again. Like you're sabotaging yourself and getting married again, even without having a new story or a new strategy that will create a new story. So what was interesting is like the power of mentorship. That's where we went with the men. It's like, look, if you're not, the reality is, if you don't have someone that has a different story, they're going to confirm that story that you have. Matter of fact, probably a lot of times we attract who we are, we attract what we're aware of. So we're sitting here telling this story and like we're telling it to our friends and family members. I know, right? That's what happens to me too. And they're like me tooing it and then telling you their story that's similar. So then you're confirming it's like, oh, well, that's how the whole world is, right? Oh, I'm broke and my mom's broke, and my dad's broke, and everyone's broke around me, and I'm broke too. Like, and that's just the way life is. See, everyone's supposed to be broke, and that's what's good. Is that's what family does. That's what I do. I mean, it could be your story. I'm just saying that as an example. Until somebody disrupts that story and helps you create another one. But you got to be able to hear their story because you may not even have the confidence. This is one of the things that came up with the men. They're like, what do you do? It was the words were about feeling stress and stressing over things and feeling overwhelmed. Have you felt that? Have you felt stressed or overwhelmed? I bet you have. Chances are because you're attempting to rewrite a story that you felt comfortable in. Are you following me? Like now you're trying to rewrite a story to change your history or change everything you know or your experiences, and you're like freaking out. Like this ain't comfortable because I'm so used to going a certain way, whether it's good or bad, right? Then all of a sudden you're going to do something to level up. Well, again, doing that on your own is really, really hard. But when you have someone, it's like taking a driving test. We were talking about this. When you're driving, you're freaking uncomfortable and overwhelmed the first time you drive. If you're honest, everybody on the planet, when they skip behind that wheel and they're like, this thing is kind of big, it's scary. And we get the opportunity to work with previously Amish. So a lot of times they're adults when they're first driving a car. And like in their 20s or maybe even 30s, and they're like, my goodness, they're kind of freaked out. They've driven horse and buggies. They haven't driven cars. So now all of a sudden they're driving this powerful car, and they're like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And they're nervous every single, and I know when I was a kid and I first drove, I was nervous, right? That first time you got behind the wheel, whether you had a license or not. And then that's why you have to have a permit and drive with someone that it's the same across the nation here in the US. That when you drive and you got your permit, you're permitted to drive with a licensed, experienced driver. Because guess what? They're no longer afraid like you. They have a different experience, right? And they're going to help you drive and drive appropriately, right? But when you first start, you're stressed and you're overwhelmed. It's just real. But now, years later, thousands of hours later of driving, you don't even remember putting that thing in drive. I guarantee it. After it becomes a neural passageway, a brand new activity, but now it's a subconscious activity. You no longer have to think about it while you drive. You're thinking about a million other things and you're on autopilot. It's kind of scary, but it's true. You drive through certain neighborhoods, you don't remember the neighborhood. Maybe there was a dead cat in the road and you don't even remember that because you're just in a zone thinking about tons of stuff. I'm serious. It's the craziest thing. You're definitely not thinking about how you're driving and 10 and 2 and where your hands are. So my point in saying this is this. Your story, when you go to change it and disrupt it, is definitely going to be uncomfortable. And doing it on your own, how do you have the courage to go ahead and do it when it feels so stressful and it feels overwhelming? Well, a lot of times you need some accountability. You need somebody who has a different story. And so that's the beautiful thing is first recognize, man, I got a trigger. It's attached. It's holding me back. It's keeping me stuck. And it's connected to some trauma from my childhood. 9 times out of 10, that's what it is, 99% of the time. And then just that story gets, a lot of times you remember a story, but it's not till high school, right? And then you're like, well, it's from high school. And I'm always like, it's probably from the formative years. You just confirmed it in high school. And so you think it was high school, but it was before that the story got created. Because here again, this is one of the things we talk about with a man too. Fear is not what you're born with. You're not born with fear. You're not born with the lack of taking action and being fearful. You're not born with that. That is learned. It's from experiences. And I told this story like 2 or 3 times today with different people. I said, here's the proof of it. First of all, use the Bible. It says, God says, for I have not given you the spirit of what?
Fear.
Fear. But of what? This is the key of where this comes from. It's the opposite of this. I've given you the sound mind. Sound. So when you don't have a sound mind, you're fearful. So when you have fear, it's learned. It's an experience you went through. It's not what God gave you. It's not what you were born with. And proof of it was the story I was going to tell you. I used to take Hazel and spin her around by her legs. Woo! Her hands. Woo! She'd fly all over the place. I'd throw her as high as I could in the air. And guess what? She never got the spirit of fear because she never had a bad experience with that. Daddy always caught her. She never got hurt. Mama never said, careful, she might get hurt, and like freak out. Mama never did that. Mama said, whoa, isn't that fun? You love your daddy. And like, guess what? She was, now correct me if I'm wrong. You can help me be specific. She was probably 6 or 7. She was always tall for her age. Like we're talking a 6-year-old, and you have to be a certain height to go on fast roller coasters, right? Usually it's like for 10 or 12-year-olds, but she was tall for her age. And guess what? Daddy, I want to go on that roller coaster. I'm like, do you know what a roller coaster is? You know, these are fast. And I remember going to Knott's Berry Farm, and she was tall enough. And we got on this slingshot thing that was like, she went like 0 to 80 in like no time by magnets.
Not only did she want to go on the roller coaster, but she wanted to be on the front
That's right.
of the roller coaster.
0 fear at like age 6. Again, the experiences have been, I can see how that would all create that, like fun to swing and go fast. And like, that's the 6-year-old version of a 7-year-old version is like, let's go on a roller coaster, Daddy. Let's go on. And man, she would like 3 times in a row. And I'm like, let me recover. She's like, no, let's go. Let's go again. Let's go again. A 7-year-old. And it's real. Like that's a true, real story. So it's like, there you go. She's an example, Hazel. She never got taught to fear roller coasters, to fear flying, to fear these things.
Heights.
Yeah. So I mean, I've got
She
video of
wants to
me
skydive.
swinging her around as fast as possible when she's like
Mhm.
2, and she loved it. Do it again, Daddy. Do it again. At halftime, I'd be like, I gotta recover. So point being is like she didn't have the story. Now, let me go here. Let me just change it real quick. What if at one of those times she slipped out of my hands, flew into the wall, broke her shoulder? I mean, that's horrible. I'd never wish that on her. I'm just saying, what if that did happen? Everything would change. Experience would change. She could fear flying. She could fear fast movements. Then her whole story could change, right? It's possible. But she didn't ever have that. That's what's so amazing and awesome because we saw that she didn't fear any kind of heights, any kind of swings, any kind of fast ride, nothing. And again, that's proof that experiences create those stories and create those situations. We're not born with it. And so, what is holding you back? And what do you need? Do you need a mentor? Do you need someone that has a different story than you have, whether it's in your finances, maybe it's in your relationships? That's why we do matchmaking. Like, we know people have a story that's holding them back from finding their epic soulmate, and we help give them a different story. Same thing with marriage mastery. People think it's not possible. It's not possible for me to have an epic marriage. Yes, it is. We're living proof of it. And we've helped thousands of others to do the same. It's a skill. Pretty fired up tonight. You think?
It's good.
But it was fun, like just recognizing fear. Oh, so another part that was cool. And again, I'll probably post this video because I love posting the video as I do at the men. But really, what's worked for me is to get results, to hit a target, to hit a goal. You want to have a goal. If you create the reward and the fear, now you're going to make fear your, you know what I mean? You're going to own that fear. Fear wanted to hold you back. Now, when you have the right skill and the right mindset around it, sound mind, you can actually utilize that fear to drive you, to give you fuel to hit that target, right? The fear of like embarrassment. You can create scenarios in your head. If I don't do it, if I choose to sleep in and be lazy, I'm going to get fat. I'm going to die of a heart attack. Like, I mean, this is horrible stuff, right? But that's what fear is like. So what if I use that to get my butt out of bed in the morning, and then I also use the reward to pull me. The fear to push me, the reward to pull me. What's my reward? Well, if I get my butt out of bed, I'm going to be healthier. I'm going to be stronger and fit. I'm going to make more money. And my wife's going to have more sex with me. Yahoo! Let's go. Right? I mean,
I'm so country.
Want me to sing you a country song?
He's been hanging out with these country folk.
Blame it all on my roots. I showed up in boots, ruin your black tie.
Turn into a true Georgian, don't you?
Baby, it was that country singing that won you over. It's your love.
That's true.
All right. What else happened? How did the
That's
women
it.
respond?
That's good.
What about your mentorships? You had quite a few. You were stacking them on Monday, girl.
Yeah,
You have more than I do now.
that's good. No, I'm just saying, like, I already.
It all
mentored.
kind of was tied together. It all had the like she mentored all these women all day, and then they came to the
It wasn't just
women's
women.
call. Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right. It's not always just women. So then, all right. What else?
That's
Anything?
it. It's okay.
Let's see. It's okay.
That's all she wrote.
It's okay. It's been a busy day.
Until next time.
All right. Well, that's it then. The show, yabba yabba. That's all, folks.
Yeah.
Have a good night. Bless you till next time. We'll see you. It's been a great night, Cap. Cheers to you. Epic.
We'll see you next time.